Yellow YouTube. How is everybody's day today? Alright, so trying out a new format, trying out a new sound room. It sounds much better. I've done limited testing because I really need to get this out. Alright, so what are we doing today? Well, I'm going to try and do a character analysis out of one of the Sanctuary of the Banished members, Kayana. Why her? That's simply because I think that I don't have as much faith in my own characters as I do in Rora's character. By the way, you should go check out and support Rora Scarlet. She is the artist and also the co-founder of this little operation. So, that being said, gonna give him a second for the screen to catch up before I start yammering on. I may have given myself too much time here in this. Hopefully, everything will come out much more detailed and much more detailed because I find that I haven't been giving enough emphasis to certain parts of the videos, and it just seems like I'm glancing over things. At least that's how I feel about the matter. So, I said last time that I may have had a new concept, and I'd try and post it on Wednesday. Well, I'm sorry it is so terribly, terribly behind. However, this is me trying to make up for it. So, again, you already know the character. It's Kayana. In case you're wondering, she's the I'm covered anyway, but she's the second in command of the Banished. It's funny because her sister gets powers, and she only gets an anomalous item. I'll have to ask Rora how that works out and makes sense and such. Just random luck, I suppose. All right. Is there any big announcements I need to make? Anything I need to do? Hopefully the dog will hush and that you won't hear him in the final product. So sorry about that. Alright. Maybe instead of letting the screen catch up, let's just go ahead and start this. Kayana. Where to begin? I believe I started with her familiar relations family relations, sorry, in the video. Let me check real quick. Yeah, it's the family relations. So, what should we know about her? I guess we should say while I buy time. So, she's second in command. She doesn't think that that people who are semi-normalish with anomalies shouldn't be contained. She is a major coward, and I do plan on incorporating that a lot. In fact, it's rather interesting because she's cowardly to a fault. And you're probably like, well, yeah, coward's a fault. How is she cowardly to a fault? Basically, at the moment, this will probably change as we see her grow and shift and become a better person, or maybe a worse person. Haven't decided yet. So basically, she won't help you if you're in danger. Her safety is her priority. Now, again, that's only in lethal situations. Usually, you can get her to help you in some way or capacity. And I took really, really long when I was typing this intro. I did not think I would be able to move this fast, but I forgot it takes a lot longer to put stuff down than it does to actually speak and eloquently express the points. Alright, what else? Oh, yeah. So, in case you're wondering about her sisters, there's 5. 6 if I remember correctly. Sorry, Aurora, if I got that wrong. But 2 of them are the ones that we're going to focus on throughout the video. That's because one is part of Osira. No, that's not right. It's one of the other GOIs. It's specifically the one that focuses on anomalies with Muslim that relate to Muslim culture. I'm sorry if that sounded offensive. Anyway, so she's a strike leader for them. We'll see what Roar does with her later, I'm sure. Her other sister is Kirana. Okay, I probably butchered that. Kirana and Kayana. I'm so sorry, Roar. Anyway, so she cares deeply for all of her younger sisters. However, one of them, works in a very hostile and aggressive organization. Hostile at the moment and in most depictions of it. And the other works as the jailers of her kind, which creates lots of conflict. So, how does this... here we go. Finally caught up. See, there's the relations. How does she fit? Again, she probably... Her sisters may be one of the few things that she would try and save instead of being a coward and running. However, I highly doubt it, at least at the current state that her character is in. And, of course, I mentioned letters. I brought this up to my partner, and she thought it was a good idea, so I'm going to put it in the video. So basically, Kayana used to write letters to her sisters. However, because of their rocky relationship with the two of them, you know which ones, she's kind of left them she keeps the letters, but she hasn't found the strength to write to them. Of course, one of them she probably shouldn't write to, that could potentially give away her location, and that would be a mess because that would bring Guff crashing in on the Banished, which would be highly disastrous for the organization and reflect terribly for a leadership role. So, sorry, trying to make sure, put as much detail and effort into this as possible, give myself plenty of time to play catch up and focus as I could. So, as I said earlier, her defining trait is she's a coward. Now then, it has a special interaction in the stories because you can easily catch her off guard. So someone putting their hands on her freaks her out and makes her jump and try and get away. Sorry, something was pressing against the door and it scared me. It makes her jump and try and get away and avoid them. How often does it manifest? I bring this up because I want to say it won't manifest you won't see the full effects of her being a coward very often until events like raids and attacks. But you will probably see minor hints at it quite often based on her character interactions. Keywords can make her flinch. And the threat of violence can probably, depending on who it's coming from, I should add, can probably make her cower away and try to avoid someone. For instance, if Phasm tried to threaten her with violence, I'm pretty sure she'd shoot back unless it was a gravely serious matter, at which point she would probably back off. And the characteristics tend to... I've already discussed this, but the characteristics tend to affect action. The actions, like I've stated before, Sorry. Sorry, I'm still new to this and I'm really scared. Uh, I gotta remember her jumpiness, and she's a very interesting character to write for. Just because she tries to avoid death, conflict, and being locked away so hard. So it's interesting writing a character who, instead of trying to save one of their loved ones, would maybe hesitate but would find it easier to flee. It's not something that we get to see too often unless that person either becomes a villain or something in cinema. I'm sure it is more common on the internet, but generally it's not something the mainstream gets to explore, and that's a bit exciting. So, oh yeah, and you won't see her fight. So, what about her heritage? She's Indonesian. Fun, 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 fun. I can't remember if she's an immigrant or if she's second or third generation. I want to say she's a third generation. Um, so I'm not sure how to pronounce the Indonesian words that she would use. However, in her dialogue, specifically her cursing, she prefers to use Indonesian, and she'll speak in Indonesian when she doesn't want someone knowing what she's saying, because being a coward, she wants to avoid conflict. So instead of calling someone a real ugly thing to their face, just whisper it under your breath in a completely different language. And of course, even if they do hear it, then they can't understand it, and you can always lie about the meaning as well. At least as long as they don't know that language, you can. I bring up plus. Now, I do need to find out the accent and how it affects the English language. That way I can write the dialogue better to be a bit more accurate. Rura, please help me with that. Because you're supposed to watch this, and I hope you do. So possible plot. I've been debating a long time about either a racist superhero or maybe someone who doesn't quite understand as much, and they challenge someone from a different culture or religion, or just generally doing the jerk thing. But I don't know how that would go over in the modern climate, or if anyone would like seeing someone who isn't necessarily bad but supports wrong beliefs and then slowly, ever so slowly, turning and defeating their nature and such. I think that could be a highly interesting plot line. And I bring that up just to occasionally remind myself I have to leave it up to you guys, but that's something for a much later date. It's not something I want to jump into right now and potentially smother my YouTube and Twitch career before it even starts out, because I'm small fish, and one person going and talking about how I support racism or something could utterly end me. Hopefully the YouTube bots don't flag this video because of race and Muslim, but anyway. So, next up, of course, is we have her anomalous nature, or rather her non-anomalous nature and her anomalous object, their forgetful gloves. And they have a very specific effect. When the gloves are worn and you slap someone with them, they forget. Now, I'll have to get some more clarification on this, but I like to think you could at least make them forget maybe who they are. I think just trying to completely wipe someone blank would take a whole lot more slaps. I think specifically it works backwards. You get smacked, you forget the events that just took place, maybe a few hours or so. You get slapped again, you forget another few hours. I think that's how it should work, but again, I'm going to consult with my partner before I just broadly state that out there. And So here's the part where I'm going to sound like an English professor. So these gloves with how they work. If people forget, it's a good way to forget to get out of conflict. Which again, this item doubles down on her nature as someone who likes to be a coward and avoid conflict, which can be. I mean, it's a good literary device. Well, it's not a literary device. It's good writing because eventually, as she does becomes less of a coward, and we might see the gloves change, or maybe she won't rely on them as much, or maybe she'll get more creative with their uses. However, right now it's very close to home with what her character stands for, which, for a start, I think it's definitely a good idea. And maybe I should take that to heart and have have powers more correlate with my characters. But sometimes a good power system doesn't need them to go hand in hand. That way, because sometimes morals are best built into the power system. That way, maybe you can increase in power until you've learned a vital lesson. Sorry for cutting off there. However, that's more of a debate. I'll have to check it out. And maybe I'll post a poll up later sometime in my career and ask about it. However, she also may never change, or she may even get worse, which would be fun. Now then, there's a little end card as it's already ahead of me because I've been lingering too long. It's just character sheet. I want to give it more details, but for the purpose of this video, it's mainly to just buy time. But anyway, what's up next? She's the second in command of the group. Alright, that gives her a pretty powerful position because she's at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to the inner circle, but when it comes to most of the members, she's pretty much one of the highest. The inner circle, I'm going to come up with a better name with them, I have to. But you get what I'm referencing, that they're close-knit group. So basically she handles the day-to-day side of things. Hey, we need food. All right, what do we got to cook? Cook it. We need money. All right, here's what we got to do. And she usually works very closely with Mr. Piper because he's the logistical support, so he usually keeps up with those things, and she makes sure that people go out, do their jobs, or things are getting done as the group requires and needs. That's basically her little role. It puts her in a unique position almost because everybody looks up to her, but how does she deal with that when she is a coward? What happens when someone needs her? They look up to this person. They need her help as a GOC agent bears down on them, preparing to finish them. And she runs. That is a chilling idea that I hope I get to explore sometime. Of course, college papers to write. There's papers to write and other things in my life that have to get done. So, that'll be exciting. And it generally slows down my progress as well as motivation. I'm having trouble finding a good first story for the wiki. And it has to survive, but it also has to be something that doesn't occur too often. I'm not going to say that it's never been done before, but stories that don't get told often enough by Foundation standards. So anyway, I digress there. So, unique role that allows her power, but also conflicts with her inner nature. She takes responsibility, but she runs from her past, which means some of her bad decisions can come back and bite her later. And oh boy, which just leaves the debate of whether she learns, or maybe she gets taken out of her spot for a while. And, well, we'll just have to see. I'll have to do some talking with my partner about that. But it's a world of opportunities. And that world of opportunities, I think, would be quite fitting. Quite fitting for dear old Kayana. So what else needs to be said? Well, of course, I guess I should talk about her authority. I kind of put it off as everybody listens to her, but I think there needs to be a bit more conflict because can't always rely on guff, especially when things need to be slower and more, not spaced out, paced. Better paced, or times when there isn't supposed to be a big conflict. Having two characters getting on each other's nerves, or some clash of ideals, may be what's best needed. And someone calling her on her BS, even though it isn't BS, would be probably a good way. Or, of course, how she deals with someone when they refuse to work would be another good one. And there's lots of potential with this character, and some of my own. Not all of my character. I don't think. Some of my characters definitely need a bit more work. Some characters have a role that they will fill, and I plan on working on them, but most of them, like Kayana, have a start point, and I need to develop everything a lot more in order to get the wheels turning and the motions going. They have a starting point, and I have ideas and events that I want to happen, or that should happen, and how they change hopefully will be natural. I bring this up because a lot of times events happen and they utterly redefine a character, and that's alright. However, sometimes those events don't utterly redefine a character. And so, I don't think, first off, I'm an idiot, and here's a little something to just think about. So a lot of times we have redemption. It's a very big thing in both Eastern and Western culture, and so it appears in a lot of stories. We have good redemptions and we have bad redemptions. Good would be Prince Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. It takes a long time before he finally joined up with the good guys, and it was so rewarding. I can't really think of a bad example off the top of my head, but you don't see that in the cinema, and for Western audiences. Usually those events only occur on TV shows and long-running series. But what I'm getting at is we love the redemption story, but is it how a character would actually go? Probably not. Depends. Again, I believe people can change and be better. However, I also think that sometimes, or a lot of times, especially if they can get away with it, they won't, or maybe they'll recede into the depths. Because a big thing for a lot of us is survival. So, maybe I can explore that theme in stories where we break characters and see how bad things can get. Heck, there might be 3 different versions. One where the characters stay relatively neutral, one where everybody changes for the better, and one where everybody changes for the worst. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. You've all been a big help. all 9 of you are at the moment. Maybe after this one we'll get to 10. I'm going to try and fiddle around and see if I can change the meta tags, and because all this is done on my mobile device, and I know it's really, really bad. I'm sorry for the terrible quality. I need to work on advertising myself a bit more, and hopefully the newer videos like this can really help me talk and hone in on specific things instead of getting all glossy. And if things do well enough, I might do some story readings where I can play with the voices and ideas and see how you guys respond and react to it. And this is all a big, big step, because one day I want to write my own little universe with its own complexities and hopefully get it published. But for now, I'm going to stay small, make some people happy, make some others mad. We'll see how it goes. Thank you to Roya Scarlet, both for the art, character. You've been really big help. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that you don't get as much back in return. I truly do apologize for that. But you've also been a wonderful influence, and I hope that you can stick around and help with this idea. And Hairy Legs, that's the username. So sorry. Please, I hope you see this, and I hope you come back and hang out again. We still have so many stories and so much potential with those ideas, and I would really love to see them written out and make it onto the wiki one day. All right. Well, peace, you guys, gals, and the 9, and whatever else you prefer. This marks the end of the video. There's going to be a few more seconds of dead time. So, that's all, folks. Thanks for watching.